Picture this. You're at the range and you're struggling with a particular bird. Maybe it's the crossing target on Station 4. Maybe it's the high incoming. Someone nearby, experienced, well-meaning, probably a solid shooter themselves, walks over and says, "Close your left eye, give it more lead, and really follow through after the shot." Classic advice. You've probably heard all three. You try them, and somehow you feel worse, more confused, less consistent. Here's the thing nobody says out loud. That advice isn't wrong. For a 28-year-old with full flexibility, sharp eyes, and 10 years of muscle memory behind him. But you are not 28, and what works for that shooter can actively damage what you're trying to build. Today, I'm going to break down 3 of the most commonly repeated clay shooting tips that actually make older shooters worse. Not because the people giving them are wrong, but because they're giving the right advice to the wrong body. And I'll give you what to do instead. If you want more content like this, hit subscribe. Let's get into it. Why good advice becomes bad advice after 50. Before we get into the 3 tips, I want to set some context, because this isn't about blaming the people who give this advice. Most of the traditional wisdom around clay shooting was developed by and for young, physically flexible, highly practiced shooters. Olympic coaching methodology, professional range instruction, the advice passed around at club shoots, all of it was calibrated on that baseline. But after 50, several things change. Peripheral vision narrows slightly. Eye dominance can shift. Flexibility in the neck, shoulder, and upper back reduces range of motion. Reaction speed slows a little. And critically, the nervous system takes longer to unlearn a bad habit and replace it with a good one. That means when an older shooter is given advice that creates tension, redirects visual focus, or demands exaggerated movement, the damage is compounded. You don't just do the wrong thing once. You encode it faster and more deeply than a younger shooter would. So let's go through the 3 tips. What they are, why they fail you specifically, and what to do instead. Bad tip 1. Close your off eye. Bad tip number 1, and probably the most common shotgun advice ever given, is close your left eye. It sounds logical. If you're right-handed, your right eye should control the shot. So close the left eye and eliminate the conflict. But here's the problem. Closing an eye isn't passive. Try it right now. Close your left eye the way you would during a shot. Notice what happens to your face. Your cheekbone rises, your jaw shifts slightly, and the muscles on that side of your face tighten. That matters more than most shooters realize. Shotgun accuracy depends heavily on a consistent cheek weld, the exact position where your face contacts the stock, so your eye aligns the same way over the rib every time. When you clamp one eye shut at the moment of truth, you subtly change the shape of your face and disturb that alignment. For younger shooters, this might only cause a small inconsistency. But for shooters over 50, it can become a real problem. Reduced neck and shoulder flexibility already makes it harder to mount the gun identically each time. Adding facial tension makes that repeatability even tougher. The better approach? Keep both eyes open. If your off eye tries to take over, a common issue for older shooters, use a small smudge of chapstick or translucent tape on your shooting glasses to blur that eye's view. It keeps your vision balanced without disturbing your mount or your facial position. Bad tip 2, give it more lead. Bad tip number 2 is something heard at almost every clay shooting club. You missed. Give it more lead. In a purely ballistic sense, that advice isn't completely wrong. A moving target requires lead because the shot must arrive where the clay will be, not where it is. That part is simple physics. The problem is what this advice makes your eyes do. When someone says, give it more lead, your brain translates that into, look at the gap between the barrel and the clay and make it bigger. But that instinct works directly against proper shotgun mechanics. A shotgun isn't aimed like a rifle, it's swung. The barrel follows the eyes. Wherever your eyes go, the gun naturally follows. That principle becomes even more important for shooters over 50 because our visual processing speed is slightly slower than it once was. We can't afford to split our attention between the target and the barrel. The moment you start measuring the lead gap, your focus shifts from the clay to the barrel. And the instant your eyes leave the target, the gun slows down. Instead of smoothly tracking a moving clay, you end up pointing at empty space. This is why shooters who try to add more lead often overcorrect, shooting far in front one shot and behind the next. The lead becomes inconsistent because the visual focus is inconsistent. The better approach: lock your eyes on the leading edge of the clay from the moment it appears. Let your subconscious calculate the lead. Your brain has spent a lifetime judging speed and distance. It's remarkably good at it, as long as your eyes stay glued to the target. Bad tip 3. Follow through harder. Bad tip number 3 surprises many shooters, because follow-through is absolutely a real and important concept in shotgun shooting. The issue isn't follow-through itself. The problem is the word harder. You'll often hear advice like, follow through harder, keep the gun swinging, really push through the shot. This advice is usually trying to fix a legitimate problem: gun stoppage. Many shooters, especially those who are recoil conscious, which becomes more common after 50, subconsciously stop the gun the instant they pull the trigger. They brace for the recoil, the swing freezes for a split second, and the shot lands behind the target. So yes, follow-through matters. But telling shooters to push harder through the swing often creates new issues. First, the shoulders and upper back naturally lose range of motion and flexibility as we age. Forcing an exaggerated follow-through pushes the body toward the limits of that range. Instead of helping the shot, it can lead to discomfort, fatigue, and even minor strain over time. What started as a fix for gun stoppage can turn into a physical limitation that makes shooting less enjoyable. Second, exaggerating follow-through can cause the brain to anticipate the big post-shot movement. Instead of focusing completely on the moment of the shot, your motor system begins preparing for the dramatic finish. Ironically, this anticipation can actually make gun stoppage worse for some shooters. Third, large follow-through swings can affect balance, especially for shooters over 50. On sporting clays courses where a second target may appear immediately, finishing the first shot slightly off balance can cost you the second bird. The better mindset is committed follow-through, not harder follow-through. Committed follow-through simply means the gun continues smoothly along the same swing line for a natural 1 to 2 beat after the trigger pull. No dramatic push, no forced rotation, just a controlled continuation of the same motion that broke the target. Think of it like the first phase of a golf swing after impact. Smooth, balanced, and deliberate, not exaggerated. The pattern. What actually works for older shooters? So, what do these 3 bad tips have in common? Each one was designed to solve a real problem: off-eye interference, insufficient lead, gun stoppage. These are genuine issues. But each solution was designed for a body with full flexibility, sharp bilateral vision, and a fast-adapting nervous system. When you apply those solutions to an older body, one that is slightly stiffer, slightly slower to adapt, and slightly more likely to encode a bad movement pattern with repetition, the cure can become a problem in its own right. The pattern for what actually works over 50 is this: solve the problem with the minimum intervention possible. Instead of closing the eye, blur it gently. Instead of measuring lead, lock onto the clay more precisely. Instead of swinging harder, swing more deliberately. Less force, more precision. Less tension, more consistency. That is the over 50 approach to clay shooting. And in my experience, it produces better results faster than the traditional heavy-handed advice most of us grew up hearing at the range. You don't need to be the shooter you were at 30. You need to be the best shooter you can be at the age you are right now. And with the right approach, that shooter is more capable and more consistent than you might think. If any of these have been showing up in your range sessions, try the adjustments I've described and come back to the comments and tell me which one made the biggest difference. I genuinely want to know. Subscribe for more informative content like this. Keep questioning the advice. Keep shooting smart, and I'll see you in the next one.